Welcome everybody to the 100-Year Lifestyle, where we are, yes we are transforming health and longevity worldwide so that you and your loved ones can live at 100% for 100 years and beyond. And hey, we talk about all the time airstrikes, ground troops, not to be militant or anything, but it's important that we have messages in the air and great people on the ground like Dr. PJ Gonzalez, Dr. Peter Gonzalez here, Dr. Tori behind the scenes working, right?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Great.
very good.
Yeah.
From Wisconsin. And hey, thanks for joining us, my man.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be on the podcast with you.
Very good. Well, we've known each other now, how many years? 5 years?
Probably about 5 years, yeah.
5 years. I met Dr. Gonzalez when he was in school studying to be a chiropractor. And what I loved about you and what I appreciated about you in a world where everybody's trying to be a hero and not doing the work, you're doing the work and you don't care about being a hero. So you're becoming a hero to the people in your community. So thanks for the hard work you're doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So tell me why. I mean, I know we've talked about a lot of the people that you're taking care of in your community and you're having great conversations, changing people's lives. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world.
Yeah, I mean, people just seem to be really, really fed up when it comes to what the current healthcare model is providing for them. And when they come in, a lot of times they don't even know it. And they're saying, hey, I've got this issue. They're getting dragged through the mud. They're saying, I've had this symptom for a long time. I've had this medication, that medication. They said, I have to get surgery. And then I even ask, and sometimes they're barely even examined by their doctors and they haven't even had imaging done or whatever it might be. And it's like, well, where are they coming up with this conclusion? You know, we kind of give them the message of the 100-year lifestyle and say, listen, you might live to be 100. That's whether you like it or not. So how are we preparing for that? And if you're functioning like this now at 20, 30, 40, fast forward 30 or 40, 50 years, and people kind of look at you like you got two heads for a second and then go, well, I don't know if I want to live that long. It's like, sometimes it's too bad. But they grab onto that message because you're saying, let's fix the problem, get your body to heal itself. And then, they get amazing results. It's really good.
It is really good. And I'm looking at your smile, so I know, does it shock you how amazing the body's ability to heal itself is when you remove the interference, you get the interference out of the way, you give people a new direction that is supportive of the body's natural, innate intelligence, functioning, healing capabilities. Talk to us about, because you're new at this, fairly 3 years into it, and you're seeing amazing things. Talk to us about that.
It kind of shocks me every day, and it almost feels like, should I be surprised? Because I know it's my profession and what I studied to do, and I know, I trust that it works. But when you remove that interference, and sometimes it's so simple, and you do one or two things, and someone's like, that's it, I thought you were going to spend an hour working on me or something. And then they come in the next visit and they say, oh my gosh, my life is completely changed. I had a really good scenario of a guy who had 4 failed spinal surgeries. He's given me permission many times to talk about his case because he's just blown away by the results he got. He was terrified for me to work on him because he has had such a bad experience. And I saw him about to get on the table the first time, and he said, I'm like, you look like you're a little nervous, talk to me, what's going on? And he's just like, yeah, last time I got on a table, it was the last surgery I had, and it didn't go well. So he couldn't feel his feet, couldn't feel anything, and no one would touch him. They said, that's it. That's how you're going to live the rest of your life. Now they come in about once a month. He drives an hour and a half to see me because no one would touch him, and he's near pain free after the barbaric stuff that's been done to his spine. It's crazy.
Yeah, you use the word barbaric, and I remember, I don't know which episode it was. It was one of the Star Trek episodes a long time ago when the doctor was walking around a hospital. He had come down to Earth. He's walking around the hospital. Doc, I guess they called him, I forget what his name, Bones, they called him actually. Didn't they call him Bones on Star Trek? I don't remember what his name was.
That a few times once I just went into the chiropractic school and
Yeah. But he goes to the hospital, it comes down into the past, which is our current time, and he's watching the surgeries that are going on, and he uses that word like this is barbaric, and he just looks at people and he does something fancy that just takes a minute and the person gets up. That kind of happens a lot, and I'm not trying to make light of people's situation, but we see people so often after the fact, this nursing home generation, or this if it ain't broke, don't fix it generation. They did not know they were going to live this long. They didn't know how they were going to take care of themselves really to ensure quality of life along the way. And the younger generations, people your generation, people in their 30s and 40s raising families, they want to live differently. What do you tell them? How do you get them to understand this new avenue, this new way of looking at the world, their health and vitality? How do you talk about it?
Well, I kind of just frame it as look at how your parents and grandparents have aged. And for most people, especially, in my generation, they look at it and they say, yeah, a lot of their grandparents are in nursing homes and they're in hospital beds and wheelchairs, and they're in this place where they are not thriving whatsoever. And they start looking at, well, shoot, if my spine looks like that, or my nervous system's not functioning right, or my diet's awful, or I don't really work out. And we just inform them that if you take care of, these pillars of health, as you've put it so eloquently, that you're taking care of your fitness, that N squared ESS, all that stuff. If you can take care of that, you can get there in style. There are people that are living healthy. I've seen it myself where there's, people that are 85 running 5Ks and marathons, and I'm seeing it right in front of me, and someone that I know that's the exact same age who can barely walk. And if you just follow their lifestyle, it almost always is just to the T. Like that is, you can just see it happening.
Yeah, and the misinformation of genetics, we have to talk about that too, because we see a lot of younger people and they say, well, I have heart disease that runs in my family, or I have cancer that runs in my family, or I have diabetes that runs in my family, or rheumatoid disease that runs in my family. And what we have learned conclusively, that the majority of these diseases that used to be blamed on genetics are really lifestyle-oriented conditions. And so when people understand that and they realize that, wow, I have more control over my health and my life than I ever thought I did, it kind of gets them excited and gives them a new lease on life, even though they may only be teenagers sometimes or in their 20s.
Yeah, a lot of people they're very afraid of that, and they look at it just is. But what are you doing in spite of that genetic, code that might have been passed down that maybe has some kind of issue? But again, you look at the research, you look at what you can do, and there's study after study, just people that are always, if you change your lifestyle, you can turn that around very easily. It takes effort, it takes work, because you're changing some major habits. But when you watch people turn around with that, or like you said, get that new lease on life, they know, like, wait, I can change that myself. It's like, yeah, absolutely you can.
It's interesting. We were having a conversation on our house the other day with just about different treats, quote unquote treats, that are really tricks. We thought, Halloween, we say trick or treat, right? And there are a lot of what we have called or considered treats in our life that are food oriented, or the way that we have unwound, to let go, alcohol, whatever. And I like wine. I enjoy a nice glass of wine just like anybody else. But to have those treats that are really tricks, which wine is not one of those. Wine is a treat, not really a trick. Resveratrol, good for you as long as you don't overdo it. Think about and talk about some of the things that you see where people, they say, you know what, I can change that is really a trick. It's not really a treat. Whether it's, cheese, the third beer, the chips, and, talk about how people change their perceptions and then things start to get easier for them.
Well, a lot of times you look at we reward ourselves so much with food or drinks. And I think societally, it is what it is. I don't think it's a great thing, because we've trained ourselves to say, when I'm good, then I get some kind of dessert or cake or something. Trying to shift that can be really difficult. So like you said, kind of tricking yourself to say, well, let me find a healthy alternative. And there really are amazing healthy alternatives. And some of the best ones I've had, you had a potluck at your place when I was back in school. And I just remember all the stuff everyone brought, all these chiropractic students bringing all, it was a mousse made out of avocado and other stuff. It's like, there's not anything unhealthy in that. It was shocking, and it tasted phenomenal. I just had a patient who just recently said they took all of the sugar out of their house, all the candy and all that stuff. And they noticed almost immediately that their daughter started having positive changes in their behavior, seeing some of those outbursts, or where the kid gets real cranky. And they're a great kid, but kids get like that. You give them sugar, they go nuts. But if you can find the healthy alternatives, we have some friends around here that are really good at that. Their kids know why they don't eat the bad stuff, and they don't eat preservatives, and they almost make faces like, ooh, that's gross, when you show them like.
Yeah, it's, what's interesting, you talk about the sugar, people eliminating sugar from their house. 30 years ago, maybe it was longer than that, Sugar and fat got in a fight, and fat lost, sugar won. So because of that, sugar became, oh, you're sweet as sugar. And sugar became like this word that we use to compliment people and to empower people. Oh, he's so sweet as sugar, or, you know, those kinds of things. And could you imagine if fat would have won? Here's what it would sound like. It would say, oh, you're so fat. But
Each fat was a thing for a little while.
but because of the way that war was won, then the perceptions really screwed up generations of people and created cancer that didn't need to exist and heart disease that didn't need to exist. And changing perceptions is really an important thing. And actually at the same time, there was kind of like a battle of perception for chiropractors, because there was a lawsuit that chiropractors had against the AMA for slandering and smearing the chiropractic industry that went all the way to the Supreme Court. It was the Will case. And chiropractors won that lawsuit at the Supreme Court level, that the AMA strategically tried to slander and smear the chiropractic profession. But what the judge said, it would change people's perception for generations, maybe, or decades. The same happened with sugar, but now we are seeing for sugar and fat, because there are healthy fats now. We know sugar's not good. There are healthy fats that we need that are supportive of our brain and of our blood. And then the same thing is true with chiropractic, not just being about backs, but being about lifestyle. Talk about how you're bringing that into your practice to get people to really get up with the times and stop living their lives based on prehistoric beliefs.
Well, it's kind of funny, that whole AMA lawsuit thing. I see that pretty frequently, and some of my favorite patients have come in, and I don't think they realize what it sounds like when they say this, but I always thought you guys were real quacks, or I'm pretty sure this does nothing, but I have no other option. I'll give it a try. And it's like, oh, thanks a lot. But I get where they're coming from, where it's kind of like they've been ingrained in their head just the way their whole family has treated it, generations. And I think a lot of it stems from that, where there was a lot of slander through the whole thing, that it's just quackery. They come in, they say, I don't know. And then they turn around, and after a couple of visits, they go, this is the greatest thing I've ever experienced in my life. Here's 10 other things that I have changed that I didn't even tell you about. And those are some of my favorite cases, because someone says, well, I've got headaches. Okay. From a chiropractic standpoint, it can be fairly straightforward. And then they say, also, I never told you this, but my digestion is completely regular now. And I had constipation, or I had diarrhea, or all sorts of problems before, and it's completely normalized. Or my asthma is completely different. I had a guy the other day say, I didn't even know he sang. And he said, I don't know if this makes any sense. He goes, you probably know where it is. And he goes, I'm a singer, and my singing voice is so much better and more clear. And I said, well, let's look at your chart, because we were doing a re-exam. And I said, let's look where you started. And I look and see 5, and look, and if you follow the nerves, it goes right to your vocal cords. And, and he looked at me, oh my gosh, it's not just about pain, although we are great at getting rid of that. But chiropractic is such an amazing tool, because your body will heal itself. It absolutely will always do that. It is just a fact if it's got the right tools. And if you can give that to people, they just run with it, and they start seeing the results. And when they see the results, I think that's when people really make it a true change that doesn't go away.
Yeah, and circling back to some of our earlier conversation, the body's ability to heal itself and function normally if there's no interference. What is different about the vitalistic approach that we take in this chiropractic 100-year lifestyle type of model and vision is we are not symptom treaters. We look at the body as a whole, as a system, and we look for the areas that are being interfered with, not functioning properly. And because I've been doing it for 35 years, and it still amazes me that somebody can have, and for those of you that may be watching this video, I'm touching or listening to the audio, I'm touching the top of my neck, this upper cervical bone called the atlas, and the vagus nerve comes out of that area. Somebody can have a subluxation and interference in that area, and it may be completely asymptomatic. Somebody can have an interference in that area, and it could be causing blood sugar problems, or headaches, or vision problems, or digestive disturbances. And because we are working on that area that is the cause, it can affect so many different things. So we hear a lot, I don't know if you hear this too, like immediately when people start coming in, we'll hear them say, you know what, I feel better. I still have that pain. It's not completely gone yet, but I feel overall so much better, which is the effect of the nervous system on the whole body. Talk about as a lifestyle, as people do that, not even just for maintenance, but keeping the interference out of their life, making that critical transition from crisis care to lifestyle care, and you're early on in this. What do you see changing in people as they make that critical transition?
I think one of the most common ones is sleep and energy. It's a really, really common one that I hear people say is like, I have been sleeping phenomenal. I always had sleep problems and now I don't, or my energy levels are better. A lot of times people's first adjustment, they'll get off the table and they kind of look at me like, I don't know why, but I feel really different in a good way. And they kind of give you that look, and you can kind of see, as a lot of chiropractors say, the power's on, they're kind of looking different. I've had people talk about their vision changing, which is a really cool one. That was one of my favorite experiences as a student. It was in the clinic system in school. And one of the first people I ever had as a patient came in for ankle problems. So they had ankle pain. And yes, that went away, but their first adjustment, they came back and they come to their second adjustment and they said, what the heck did you do to me? So as a student, I'm like, oh shoot, what did I do to you? I don't know. And she said, my vision is blurry every day for the last 6 years. And she has glaucoma. And I'm like, oh, you didn't even tell me about that, but okay, all right, what's going on? She's like, yeah, it's blurry, and when I drive, I can barely see. And after you adjusted me, she said she got in the car and her vision was crystal clear for the first time in years. And I see that happen very frequently, it seems miraculous. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And the hard part about this conversation is that we remove the interference. We have no idea how it's going to be, if you're listening, how it would be for you in that moment. We just have to get to work and make sure that all the pathways are clear so that the communication is getting in from the brain to the body and back again, and that communication pathway is working the way that it's supposed to. And, here we are. I can't even believe this already. You're married a couple of years now, and you got a baby maybe by the time this comes out, your baby will be born, but probably not. You still got a few months left. So you're seeing this miracle of life where two cells came together, one from you, one from Tori, and now she's got a bump in her belly, and you guys are getting ready to have your first child. Talk about, from a soon-to-be father's perspective, what that miracle, that trust, and that intelligence within, how is it helping you and your family make choices?
I think and it's such a drastic change from kind of where I came from when I was in undergraduate studies and before I went to chiropractic school, where I just kind of thought, if you have a problem, you go, get a medicine for it, or, I didn't really think of it as trusting normal human physiology and biology. And now that we've been in this for a while and, all the stuff we've seen and studied and just see it in the clinic, knowing that, we're about to give birth to a child, all the horror stories I hear with a lot of moms, what they've experienced. And people, oh, are you nervous? Are you scared? And I almost feel I feel like, should I be more nervous? Because the way people talk to us about it. And both of us, Dr. Tori and I, we just have the absolute 100% trust that the human body can handle it. It's designed to do this sort of thing. And that our child, when they're born, all we got to do is clear the interference and everything will go the way it's supposed to. Feed the body right, clear the interference, let that innate intelligence do its thing, because it is a lot smarter than any doctor or any scientist that'll ever exist. And that, I think, is very often overlooked, that for lack of a better term, I think humankind has become a little arrogant with our scientific, how we're progressing with science. It is amazing. It's phenomenal what we can do, but this innate intelligence in us is smarter than we ever will be. And you just got to trust it.
And we have learned that science very often, unfortunately, today is so biased and so skewed that it's not even real science. And, especially with all the masking that's going on and people being afraid of this corona craziness that's going on, without being disrespectful for people that have passed, to people that have passed. Of course, there are people that were more vulnerable people or mismanaged, and our hearts go out to all of those families, and we're compassionate people in support of that. And people ask me all the time, Dr. Plasker, aren't you afraid? Come on, you should be afraid. And sometimes I feel like they say it, Dr. Gonzalez, I feel like they're saying it as if they're insinuating that I'm being reckless. But here's what I often say to them, and this is completely true. Just because I'm not afraid doesn't make me reckless. I understand the body. I understand the immune system. We learned about it way back in chiropractic college for me, 35 years ago, 38 years ago, for you much more recently. But we learned why we can live life without fear if we have a healthy immune system and make good choices and a healthy nervous system along the way. That's also important, I think, for you, your patients, and really all of our people and communities that will be listening to this all over the place to understand.
Well, yeah, Dr. Tori's in the office still, and I've had people say, like, aren't you guys kind of scared with her being pregnant? And, you know, we kind of look at each other like, not at all, because if you know, again, how the body works, how the immune system works, if you can support that, then there's a lot less to be afraid of. And very often, you know, things like those comorbidities that make people more at risk, you know, there are things you can do to mediate those comorbidities so that your body is under less stress and can handle something like this a lot more efficiently. Like you said, yeah, my heart goes out to the people that have, you know, dealt with some pretty sad stuff that's happened through this. But the more you can support your own body to be healthier and more efficient, again, the immune system, that innate intelligence inside of your own body is much smarter than any scientist that'll ever exist. They are just people too. Sometimes the science is proven wrong, and then they come up with a new study and that's proven wrong. And sometimes it's biased and it's all over the place. So the thing that you always can trust is normal human physiology. If you can lean on that and trust it and truly trust it and not be afraid, you're just going to have better outcomes across.
And you might even want to live to 100 at that point because you know that you're going to be able to get there in style with health and vitality. And it always floors me when I see people, because obviously with the 100-year lifestyle, a big part of it is giving people a long-term vision, getting them excited about the future, so much so that they would be willing to make a change in the present. I think that's such a core piece of what you're doing in delivering this message. So many doctors, chiropractors around the country delivering this message. What makes them unique, giving people that long-term vision, so strong, so exciting that it gets them to make choices in the present that are good for them. And when you do that, you see people change and they get on a path and now their whole life is different. So as we wind down, how exciting is it for you, for the people in your community that you're seeing get this long-term vision? And what would you want to say to the people that are listening, maybe all over the country or all over the world, about embracing a long-term vision and making those changes from a crisis mindset to a lifestyle mindset with a long-term vision in mind?
Yeah, I think, and I'm going to steal this from my wife, Dr. Tori, how she put it a while back, is just, what are you waiting for? Because the longer you wait, the more you're just letting your body go down a road that it's a trajectory. If you wait and you're going down a poor, making poor choices, or you're making those decisions that are saying, well, maybe I'll start that diet next week, or I'll start eating healthier, or maybe I'll take care of my spine and nervous system, maybe later. The further you go down that road, if there's stuff getting damaged, it's a lot harder to fix. Not that it can't be fixed, but sometimes it can't, sometimes it can't. It just takes a lot longer and a lot more effort. And the sooner you start taking care of yourself now, the less you have to worry about it. And you will be floored at how you can actually feel and function. Because again, I came from a pretty unhealthy place before chiropractic school, and flipping that switch, I had no idea what the human body is supposed to feel like on a day-to-day basis, all the time, the energy you have, how you feel, your emotions. It's just fun. It's unbelievable what you can feel like. You just have to take one step at a time, progress, not perfection, keep moving in the right direction, and just start taking the action steps, even if it's one little thing at a time.
Yeah, it's beautifully said. And hey, Dr. Tori, where are you? We need more of that wisdom. Come on, step in the camera. So, hey, last thing, because I think this is also super important, and I don't want to skip this. So You're going to get to adjust your new baby when your baby is born. And I know you and Dr. Tori, you adjust babies and kids now. What's it like to work with a family, lots of babies and kids, getting them started so young on a great path, being free from interference, free from subluxation, with a long-term vision in mind and a healthy spine and nervous system, good lifestyle choices?
Yeah, honestly, it's one of the most touching things when someone wants to bring in their children. The earliest baby I have adjusted was about 4 hours old, and that was not my own child. A mother we were seeing through her pregnancy and, helping her out with everything. She actually made sure that she was at a birthing center. They called and said, hey, she wants you to come and adjust the baby right away. Nothing was wrong. It was a natural, healthy birth. She just wanted me to check and see if there's any interference. And just across the board, when we see families with their kids, it's phenomenal to see because they respond so quick. They don't have extra damage. Again, you're setting that trajectory. So it's just like point it straight toward healthy. and just keep it that way versus trying to pick up the pieces later when, you know, you're in that crisis situation. So kids respond fast. I've seen some really profound stuff happen where, you know, some drastic changes happen. It's just really fun. Love seeing kids, love seeing families, and you can see the whole family doing better and making healthier choices as a result of it with that long-term vision in mind. And they know, you know what, if we can do this now for my child. I've had parents say, you know what, I can only afford to bring just one kid in, but, you know, or just my kids, not me. And they make that, you know, decision. Then the kid spaces care out. They come in. It's really fun to watch.
Well, you're doing great work, man. We're so honored to have you as a part of our family, as a part of our network. The 100-Year Lifestyle Network is expanding around the country and around the world. And we're just really excited that people like you are leading on the ground in communities, making a big difference for so many families. So listen, pay attention, everybody. Listen to this several times because, yes, it is true. Your 100 is coming. You make the call. Dr. PJ, thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Eric Plasker with Dr. PJ Gonzalez, Wisconsin, signing out.